Let's get this going.
Mr. Brian again.
Another day, another night, another evening,
I'm so young,
another
Standing on my
afternoon.
10 toes, I stay strong, and so I still move
What's
on.
up?
No
What's
matter
up?
what goes on. Started from a far place, moving on, because I started from a far place.
Oh
All
yeah.
about the money making. I don't got time for any hate.
No, we
Tryna
don't.
go see different things. Because I started from a far place. I'm all about the money making. I don't got time for any hate.
Man, I love that song. I love that song. Welcome, ladies and gents, to another episode of Wefobz the podcast. You are keeping it here, or should we say keeping it posted here, with your hosts, Chief Lock, Gray, and Guy So's Food. This is a momentous occasion, everyone, because if you haven't noticed, we have a new arrival on deck. And there's so much to say about our new partner coming in. But before I do any more talking, and before we even shine light on this beautiful soul, Chief, talk to me before we start giving attention to the beautiful soul that we have here with us.
Wait, you want me to introduce her, or do you want me to go to my mission statement?
Oh, you know what? Okay, we should redo that. Should we go to introductions first, or should we do the mission statement first?
Anything, bro. I was trying to write off of it. No, that you should have kept it and played with that. I was just, you know what I mean, trying to throw in there,
I'm still playing with it. So,
anyways, man,
anyways. You know what? But honestly, everybody, we're just yeah, Chief's got a point there. Let's do the mission before we introduce our very special guest here. So, Chief, what is Wefobz? What's the Wefobz mission?
Wefobz is here to promote and encourage the changing of negative mindsets, stigmas, situations, and encounters into positive outcomes.
There you have it, ladies and gents. Make sure you take note of that. We'll be giving it to you every Wefobz podcast because it just works out that way. Let's not keep everybody waiting. They want to know who that person is right next to us. And I know we were, being dilly-dallying around about it. Chief, may you please introduce our guest for today.
I am so honored to have our new co-host on the team. She comes with a beautiful pink brightness, and she looks like she's blushing right now. Please welcome our new co-host, Gray. Welcome, Gray. We're very excited to have you part of the crew. We need that female input. So looking forward to have you educate us, since from your Pacific Island girl perspective. So I look forward to working with you going forward, and we love you, and very excited to run this set today. So welcome.
Welcome indeed. Speak to us, Gray. Speak to us.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for the opportunity, Chief and Guy. I really appreciate this. I just can't get over the the avatars, and I guess just still processing this whole new platform. It's really interesting, and I feel like it's a game breaker going into this whole new metaverse universe. And so this is just it's pretty mind-blowing, and I think it really speaks a lot to a lot of our folks and within our own population and group of, peeps that if you ain't gonna get on it right now, I don't know what to tell you down the line, because as time progresses and depending on where you're at in life professionally, or just, moving in the times, like this is probably the scary part of, moving with the times. And I'm not really one for a lot of the advancements, but I will say that this can be groundbreaking for multiple reasons. And so this is really cool. Thank you for this opportunity. I am very humbled and very grateful for this opportunity, and I hope to contribute to a positive and inspiring output of ideas on this platform. So thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. That was beautifully said, especially for us here. Oh, I just thought blush. I wish I could blush your color.
I know it's so cool. I really like it.
I'm glad. Well, you definitely fill the shoes there, and Chief and I want to say thank you for coming on board, especially for our audience. So now we're gonna get to the meat of the story, or should we say the meat of tonight's podcast, or wherever you are, or whatever time you're watching this. We want to continue our session of topics that we started with our previous podcast back in episode 3. In episode 3, we were talking about content creators, everyone. So we're going to continue our content creators session. And this time we're going to continue with our new darling avatar, new darling character here, Gray. So as that is said, for this segment, we actually want to get into something that's it's pretty deep, and at the same time, it's something that we believe that everyone should be talking about, should have a discussion about when it comes to content creators. And the subject, or should I say the subtopic of our subject for tonight, today, whenever, which is right now, this moment, we're looking at the effects of content creators on the public. What is their influence on the public? That's why they're called, we talked about in our previous episode, right, Chief? We called them influencers. That's how they started off as, and now they're called content creators. But with Gray on board, she could bring us to a more, I believe she has a more unique perspective and an understanding of an experience with how content creators affect the public, how they influence the public, and the power behind that. I hope I'm making some sense to both of you. What do you think? What do you think, Chief? What do you think, Gray?
It makes sense, man. It makes sense. I want to hear what Gray got to say. Gray?
I don't know, just based on your guys' previous episode, I think a lot of it is it's almost like one of those, it's dangerous times, because you're exposed to so much information at a vastness, to where I feel like specifically with children and anybody under 18, I mean, I don't want to say I'm like Instagram police or Facebook police, but I think that it's really important to really be mindful, not so much on the content creator end, but more so probably on the families and the parents, and making sure that, you're aware of what the impact is of your child having access to the media means. And I guess my concern is really like, if we're really, without like going more towards the morality side of things, if we're really like in tune with connecting with our kids, anything and everything that does come across the media would probably be nothing but just watching something and not being influenced by it, which is, yeah. But I mean, those are my thoughts on it as far as like,
Yeah.
the content that's being presented on the different platforms.
Any thoughts, Chief?
Yeah, I agree. But it helps me put my mind, because it gets very irritating to see the way things be flowing. I just kind of realized that I think it has everything to do with your upbringing. What kind of household upbringing to influence someone to not be mindful.
Well, let me ask you both this. I mean, at the end of the day, it's supposed to be somebody's responsibility for what they put out there. Shouldn't the content creators be responsible with what they're putting out, or has that just totally gone to the wind? Is it on the parents to be responsible what their kids watch, or is it on the platforms? Whose responsibility is it to watch, to watch over the power of the creators, the content creators? Because we are all agreeing here that content creators do have power, right? Power of influence. And I know both of you are talking about influence based on the negative side of influencing people. I want to ask the question, would any of you have a perspective on that? Who's got the power to regulate or to watch over this? Who should we be, I wouldn't say blaming, but who should we be going?
I don't think it's so much of who should we be blaming, but like the interesting thing is like with the whole Elon Musk, without going that route, and the whole Twitter thing, I feel like it's similar to that. It's like giving people a platform to where they can speak freely and without any censorship. But what that means as an adult is that just because you have the freedom to speak freely, it doesn't mean that you abuse it. And I feel like as an establishment, or whether it's a family or a business entity or a content creator, like you still have the responsibility to abide by whatever the expectations are between you and whoever it is that you're basically subleasing to on a platform. And I think that that's important, because at the end of the day, yes, we cannot censor things. You just have to be mindful of how, if it's folks under 18, we just have to be mindful of how we're censoring stuff that come into our households. However, to say that we're going to censor everybody else because it impacts different households, I don't think that's realistic. However, it's just, I think speaking towards like, the younger generation and families, and the ability to like filter out what's, healthy, and what's going to help give them what's going to give them a more positive insight into like whether it's I mean just about anything. Yeah, sorry, I'm a little off now. But
Personally, I would the kids underage, I would say it's the parents' responsibility.
yeah,
Adults, it's the creator themselves. So
So what about this? Kind of actually irks me in a sense. Like people always get on, okay, you guys, yeah, it's the kids, yeah, it's the creator, but doesn't the watcher have a responsibility to themselves about what they're watching as well? Does that make sense to y'all?
yeah, man, you can scroll left, or you can
yeah,
unfriend someone, but
scrolling.
that's not the case, right? People just want to fake a color all day. Just
Yeah,
the curiosity and the, some people are just put on there just to irk the crap out of the creator and see the emotions come flooding out, so
The trolls.
yeah, the polos, or whatever we call them.
I hope so. Just everybody, just to be clear, we're talking about, the influence of content creators on the public and the responsibilities people hold, whether it's the parents for underage kids watching it, or whether it's yourself watching the creations of these creators, or should I say the content of these creators. It's one of those you can fall on either side, and there's no black or white about it. Would you all agree? That's what we talked about. Did I paraphrase it enough for all of us?
Yeah, it's that gray area to where we don't want to take away from people's rights or freedoms to view the things that they prefer to view. Whereas when it comes to the age limit of any minor, that's kind of more the responsibility of families. And so it's just I think that I feel like it's almost like you should have a license to even go on the internet. And that probably sounds a little too controlling and probably a little bit of a contradiction, but it's almost, I would say that it's a privilege and a responsibility because of the impact of it. I mean, you figure if you can do so many things as far as like shopping, eating, building a relationship, having sex, and listening to music, making music, and practically do anything and everything, that's kind of dangerous. But at the same time, it's kind of like, you get I don't want to say the wrong people to have full-blown access to something like this. It's kind of scary. And I think if I'm right in my history of when the internet came up, not to go all the way back there, but this was in like the 40s, 50s, 60s, and it didn't get put out into the world, into at least in the United States, until like 1997, at least out in Samoa, or 1996 or something. And so I feel like that says a lot. Like it took like probably the government's like, without putting stuff out there like that, like it took them decades to really figure out how the heck this was going to impact the world and how people were going to receive it. And so can you imagine like even talking about the kids and having that monitored is kind of like so minute. And I feel like this is going to take us into a whole nother topic, but yeah, those are just my thoughts.
Yeah, you know what? I actually want to hold that thought right there, because it is definitely a new topic, and I'm gonna drop some words on that too to help our group out for today. But before we do that, Chief Gray, Chief, can I have your permission to go into our Wefobz commercial break?
Oh my
Let's go.
God.
Pay them bills. Support.
All right. Let's get this going. And with that being said, ladies and gents, this episode of Wefobz Podcast, episode 4, has been brought to you by Wefobz Enterprise. And with the Wefobz Enterprise, we are specifically focusing on our Wefobz Nation store, where there's merchandise in there that you can go and buy. And one of the ones we want to point out for you to get is our Wefobz windbreakers. I don't know if you noticed, but the Tour Samoa has made it to the championships in rugby. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you don't come from the Oceania countries. You don't come from the Pacific. Everyone should know. We're rooting for the Tour Samoa. Get your friggin' Wefobz windbreaker. It represents us, and it represents the different island countries out there from the South Pacific. Let's give it up for Tour Samoa. We just wanted to latch on there and give you one of that. Check out wefobz.io, wefobz.io, our Wefobz Nation store, and you can find our featured merchandise there. Wefobz, bringing it at ya. right.
man. Congrats to them to Samoa, man. Wow. History in the making. Love the story.
Yes, we got. I think we got an upcoming. We're gonna, something special in the future.
In the future. Yep.
So before we went on that commercial break, we're bringing it back. Gray talked to us about the subject of who needs to censor what, or who needs to, monitor, more like monitor. Censor is such a hard thing right now in the public. Everybody's being, for lack of a better word, butthurt about stuff. Freedom of speech, censorship, that's all being talked about. But you know what, Gray? There's already something that exists like that. It's called the FCC, Federal Communications Bureau, I think it was called, or something like that. They control all communications, and it was for radio networks, like to monitor what they say on radio and stuff like that, and especially television. I'm pretty sure it was the FCC. Let me Google this and make sure.
Not
Federal
FAA.
Communications Commission. Yeah. Did you say FAA?
Yeah, so aviation.
Are you clouding me? Oh, man, I fell for that one.
I was
Yeah,
like, what? The airplane peeps?
Just paying attention.
That one, literally, that one went for me.
FCC.
Yeah, the FCC actually exists to do that for a television commercial. And I think one of the big things that pundits for the internet, supporters of the internet, they argue that no, the internet should be free to say what it's free to say and do whatever you want on the internet. And then it comes down to things like you and Chief have been saying. But then we're putting out all this unfiltered information, and it's being received by young, unadapted, unrefined minds.
Yeah.
Then you have to go into like the negative effects of it, like the negative outcomes of it. And would any of you like to pitch forth like examples of how this?
I like to see them fall on their face. I like to see all the drama, and it doesn't bother me.
You mean drama coming off of content creators putting out content and people start arguing over it, or people
Just
actually going to do what they put out? Like, because if you really get into a serious sense, there's some content out there that tells people to go and hurt other people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you can block them too. So
Yeah.
So whatever entertains you. I mean, the way I see it, I only watch what I think that I want to learn, and move on to the next one. So very keen to what exactly I'm watching, and if I'm going to learn something from it, I'll keep watching. Or someone pitches a new concept, I'm like, ooh, makes me think, challenges my thought process. Those are the things that interest me. But it does get boring watching all the other stuff go sideways. So,
Yeah.
like it does.
Did you guys just hear did you hear yourself? You get bored watching things go sideways.
Yeah, like you're
You see a lot of action, bro. That just to get bored off of that. Great, help me out here. Help me out.
I think that's just another perspective that's really interesting. I mean, if you really look at things and you look at your our kids and nieces and nephews, and how, like, once you give them a tablet or give them your phone, I kid you not, you can probably leave to LA and come back, and the kid's still watching YouTube or whatever cartoon. And I think that's like a perfect example of it can go two ways. You can put stuff on there that's specifically for that age group, and not really influence your child or your kids on the all the junk that's out there. However, I think that just talking about it more, like, this is our new playground, moving into the AI era. And I think it's important to really, on a humanistic level, it's really truly connecting with your peeps, your kids and your family members to ensure that you still have that humanistic part of you that you don't lose sight of, um, prior into entering this era, because I feel like once you lose that part of you going into, you know, um, like the mass of media and these different platforms, you can get lost in it. And, with that comes a lot of, not to be think on the dark side, but you're going to be exposed to a lot of things: sex trafficking, drugs, um, drug trafficking, and just a whole nother, it's almost like, I forgot what the thing of it, it's like, underground, the black market.
Market.
There you
Right.
go.
Black market.
Yeah. I
Okay.
mean, technically, we kind of are the black market, but without, I feel like even with all these things that censor, us from, building, atomic, bombs, or not that we would, but I feel like it's still there. People still have access into what's what. Anyhow, yeah. So
They calling us, man. Both of you beautifully hit on a lot of great points for this subtopic of our original content creators topic, and I want to add to that, ladies and gents, squad. We forgot something. We got to make this disclaimer. Everything you hear here is purely for entertainment and educational purposes only. What we say is what is our own, each person, to each avatar and each creator their own opinion. So yeah, that's yeah. I think parents out there. So there you go. I have a daughter that I need to keep a monitor of, as you all said. But please, that disclaimer, everyone, make sure you get that, get it down. It's for educational and entertainment purposes only. And leading into what Gray said and what Chief Lot has discussed or talked more about. And you also got to be careful, because there's been instances where content creators have secretly put themselves as creating like content for your kids, but they're secret pedophiles and stuff like that. And pedophile, that's the deep end. This is the dark side of content creation that people need to understand. Pedophiles, murderers, criminals, they will, this is another side which is why Gray points out for, it's about censorship, about monitoring what your kids are watching, or what even as adults, what we're putting out. And then it's also a warning to the content creators themselves. You need to be careful where you put out what you put out on camera, because people will understand where you live. They will try who your face looks like and stuff like that. There's so many risks that come with doing this job, that when you become a content creator, we just want to make sure you're safe and you're doing it for the right reasons, or you're doing it for your financial freedom, I guess. Anybody want to put anything else before?
Just be mindful, and you be good and have fun.
These are such I hope we hit you all with a lot of interesting details and things that you could all take with you, and let it brew upstairs, up in your head, up in that mafofo, up in that brain of yours. What's the other? The upo. Yeah.
Coconut.
The coconut upstairs in the coconut. Let it brew up there. Get it ready.
ready for fall.
Ready. Okay, Chief, we're gonna go ready go pot on this next one, which, because we're coming down to the closing of our show. Some food for thought.
You know what? I don't have one today, to be quite honest. I would just food for thought. Be grateful for the people around you, man, and be very mindful. Like be more appreciative with things you have and recognize the small wins. I mean, I'm just very humbled, to have Gray on board. It's very satisfying to see this grow. We don't have the millions of followers and stuff, but I see the potential, so I'm very grateful. So be grateful, with everything that we do and we approach in life. Yeah, that's some food for thought.
Ray, did you have anything to add?
No, not really, other than stay tuned for more.
Right.
Gray took us right into our final words. She said, stay tuned for more. So, Chief in closing, Gray in closing, would you allow me to do the closing for our show for today?
Absolutely.
So, ladies and gents, there you heard it. We're continuing our series of content creators and the things behind it. We have special guests that we want to bring on board. We want to send a shout out once again to our girl Gray. Thank you, Gray, so much for coming on to the Wefobz platform, and we look forward to having you often.
That's still my spot. We can go on forever now that Gray's around.
You heard it from the chief himself, ladies and gents. You heard it there. I don't need to say any more. I don't even need to say much. What can we say?
Stay tuned. Hey,
Stay
like,
tuned.
comment, and follow. Subscribe. Wefobz.
Wefobz. And there you have it. We're out. Let's go.
I'm so young. Standing on my 10 toes, I stay strong, and so I still move on, no matter what goes on. Started from a far place, moving on, because I started from a far place. I'm all about the money making. Don't got time for